Let's see if this comes up on YouTube now.
So you get I got a notification.
Alrighty. We just trying to get this thing rolling before see what we talking about here with this crazy game that just went down.
It was no running game involved. It was just an all gun out shootout at OK Corral.
Yeah, it. But we're back with another video, Spotlight Sports Talk, and now we're here to talk about this absolutely no defense type of game, and it turned out to be a good game in somewhat like defense offensively. Nah,
over 1,000 yards combined of total yards. That is crazy.
That is ridiculous. Oh my god, that is bad for that. That's just a bad defense. But you know what's funny though? The funny thing about this is that the actual defense showed up at the end when it was needed.
Right, Aaron Donald got 2 sacks, and then the C followed up with a sack. What they paid a man for.
Pay the man. You know, listen, they needed to pay the man because it's for this game to be the way it was, and I knew that it was going to turn out to be this way. Knowing the fact that, think about it, Vikings scored with like what the first 2 to 3 minutes of the game. Mm-hmm. That's when I knew the game was going to be back and forth. You know what hurt Minnesota? Their defense. Their defense could not stop. They couldn't stop a cloud if a cloud came in front of them. You know what I'm saying? So with this game here with the Rams, like I'm really about to break this game down. So let's start with the quarters though. So in the first quarter, they both scored 7-7. The second quarter, they would score 21-13. They scored 21 points, and the Rams scored 21 points in the second quarter. In the second quarter. Ridiculous. But Minnesota scored 13. So, obviously, I mean, you could tell just from the first half alone that it turned out to be a game where it was going to be high scoring and there wasn't going to be no defense. And then you had the third quarter going, and then the Rams scored 10 points in the third quarter. Then Minnesota scored 8 in the third quarter. And the Rams still won with not scoring in the fourth. And the Rams scored 0 points in the fourth. And the Vikings scored 3 points. Ridiculous. That's crazy. That's just something mentally it needs something mentally. I don't know what's going on with Minnesota right now. They just they was in this game. So I want to get down to the stats because the stats shows it all. With Kirk Cousins, he was 36 for 50. 36 for 50. And he was 422 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. This is what hurt the Minnesota Vikings. There's no way that Kirk Cousins should have more rushing yards than Dalvin Cook.
Right. I agree.
10 carries is not enough to win a football game for Dalvin Cook. It's not enough. There's no way you think you're going to win a game with Dalvin Cook with 10 carries. Latavius Murray 2, Rock Thomas had 1. Absolutely, you're not going to win a game with, like, he threw the ball 50 times. 50 times. Which I feel like, honestly, with that, it's kind of normal for Kirk Cousins to win. I mean, to throw that much. But for Dalvin Cook to have 10 carries, you got to balance out your offense. Simple as that. You have to balance it out. In the running game, Dalvin Cook, y'all got to get him more involved. He was there tonight, and y'all didn't run him enough. And that's how y'all lost the game. Y'all put the game in Kirk Cousins' hands, and look what happened.
He always chokes.
Always chokes. Not always chokes, but it wasn't really him this time. If you think about it, it was his blind side for not blocking. Number one, and then number two, you had uh, so you had Kirk Cousins not step up in the pocket. That was another thing. So you can blame some of it on Kirk Cousins, and you can blame some of it on his offensive line as well. But me personally, it was a great passing game for the Minnesota Vikings. They had Adam Thielen with 8 receptions, 135 yards. He's averaged 16.9 yards a catch in this game, in 1 touchdown. Stephon Diggs, 11 catches, 123 yards, 11.2 yards a catch. Kyle Rudolph, 5 receptions for 57 yards. Laquan Treadwell, finally he came to life. He was a bust. He was a bust for a long time. And then he had the 4 receptions for 47 yards. Then defensively, it just was. I mean, you had Kendricks with 5 tackles, Mike Hughes with 9. Hunter with 3. Sheldon Richardson got to do better on. He's a good defensive player. He was great when he was in New York, and he just wasn't. He wasn't there tonight. But
Steven Woods was just getting tired. He was cramping. He couldn't cover. And let's talk about Anthony Barr.
Oh my God. Anthony Barr, like I said, Anthony Barr couldn't cover a cloud if it was right in front of him. It was bad.
Brandon Cooks was just running all over the place.
It was Brandon Cooks and Cooper Kupp. Like, I was about to just get straight into those stats because just alone he got cooked by both of them. Jared Goff. This is the difference between this. I gotta put this stat up. Kirk Cousins was 36 for 50 for 422. Goff was only 26 for 33, 465. He only threw the ball 33 times. It still threw for 465 yards and 5 touchdowns.
It's like he was averaging a touchdown every.
Exact. He averaged a touchdown in 1 week of the 4 weeks of the NFL football season. Damn near.
And even though Gurley didn't really run, he still got a receiving touchdown. And he almost had 100 yards receiving. 100 yards rushing. When they weren't even running them.
Right. And then actually Todd Gurley had 17 carries for 83 yards. He still had enough carries. Just imagine if the game would have went into overtime or something. He would have got that 100 yards. Brandon Cooks had 1 rushing. Jared Goff rushed for 7 yards. But let's look at this receiving core. Cooper Kupp, 9 receptions, 162 yards, 18 yards per catch, and 2 touchdowns. So for all you fantasy owners out there, let me tell y'all something now. Y'all better love Cooper Kupp because he's very underrated in fantasy football. Very underrated. And I started him ever since week 1, and he has been giving me double digits since week 1.
He's on my bench.
Oh my! See,
I couldn't put him in.
Who you was gonna put him in for? Who you was gonna put him in for?
I put Ridley in.
Well, who else was your receivers?
I can't take out Mike Evans.
Oh, you played on Monday night. That makes sense then. That makes absolute sense then. But I mean, Cooper Kupp. 9 receptions, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then you had Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks was 7 receptions for 116 yards and a touchdown. Robert Woods, 5 receptions for 101 and a touchdown. And Todd Gurley had a catching touchdown.
That touchdown that he threw to Cooks was right on the money. That was a complete dime.
I think everything that he threw was damn near on the money tonight. It was damn near on the money. Like, you could not say, like, you could not tell Jared Goff that, like, I'm sorry, but him and Carson Wentz are the future. They are the future of this league. I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth. Like, honestly, once Carson Wentz get his feet wet, then we have that talk. But right now, Jared Goff is balling. He's having a Carson Wentz year of last year, minus the injury. If you want to think about it, it's just reversed. The only thing that's slowing Carson Wentz down is the actual injury. But outside, if Carson Wentz didn't have that injury, Jared Goff had a great year too. Like they both had great years, and now Carson Wentz is back, and then Jared Goff is playing, and then when y'all play them this year again,
I know.
that's gonna be an interesting game.
In LA.
Ooh, y'all gotta go to
We were
LA.
there last year. Like, come on, give us a break.
Hey, you know what it is though? The best games are played in LA, if you noticed that, right? That game that y'all played last year, even with Foles coming in, was still a great game.
The one thing about Jared Goff is he got a good coach. He got a good coaching staff behind him. He got Sean McVay. He's only 32 years old. Who knows anybody that's 32 years old and running a whole NFL team right now? And
He's
so
32 years old, and he's 2 months older than me.
He has a good football mind, and he has Dave Phillips as the defense coordinator. So for him to groom Goff up like he has, the same thing with Carson Wentz. He got Doug Peterson behind him. So you got two future quarterbacks for their franchises, and you got good coaches, good coaching staff around each one of them.
Right. And with me, how I feel about this here is that I really like the fact that these two quarterbacks have great coaching staffs. Like they have great coaching staffs because look at Jared Goff before McVay came in there. McVay was
did him dirty.
Jeff Fisher did him bad. They didn't put nothing around him. Only thing they had was Todd Gurley. Robert Woods wasn't there at the time. They didn't like Sean McVay know how to draft. He know how to draft. He ended up helping to draft Kirk Cousins, if you think about it. He ended up making Kirk Cousins to what the quarterback he is now when he was in Washington. And then he was an offensive coordinator for Mike and Kyle Shanahan. You can't beat that. He's an understudy of that. That's like being an understudy of Belichick in New England. You know what I'm saying? So with this Rams, they are the best team in football. I love the Jacksonville Jaguars, but the Los Angeles Rams are the best team in football. I am calling it right now. They are 4-0, and the last time they was 4-0 since 2001 when they was in St. Louis. Kurt Warner was the quarterback. Then you had Isaac Bruce, you had Torrey Holt, you had Marshall Faulk on that team, and they went to Super Bowl to play the Patriots. So
Which I'm still shocked that Torrey Holt or Isaac Bruce isn't in the Hall of Fame yet.
That's another conversation for another time. That is another conversation for another time. Because me personally, how I feel about the Rams right now is that they have so many weapons. Is that
you get the good coach? They put weapons around your quarter. You put weapons around your young quarterback.
Exactly.
You help the team evolve. Like he has too many weapons. Gurley, Cup, Robert Woods, my mind's drawing the blank. Cooks, like.
And then you got if Higbee wasn't injured, you have Higbee, you have two tight ends that can actually do it. Then we saying all this about the actual receivers of receivers or the skill players. Shout out to the offensive line.
Yeah.
I don't even think Goff got sacked tonight.
He did one time, just once.
Okay, he got sacked one time out of a 4-quarter football game. That's rarely unheard of.
And he played flawless, no picks.
No turnovers. I think it was only one turnover out of. I think it was only one turnover out of the whole game, and that was the Kirk Cousins fumble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then Brandon Cooks. If Minnesota was able to pick up the Brandon Cooks fumble, then it would have been 2 turnovers at that time. But this Rams offensive line, they are nasty. They're pushing people back. And mind you, this was a great defense. They were great. I mean, they was top 10. I mean, they wasn't like what they were last year, but Minnesota Vikings gotta get this defense together. They gotta get this defense together. Something is just. I mean, I know Griffin is not there, but you still have all the pieces in your front, and you still have all your pieces in your secondary. So the way Goff just threw on y'all, he just sat in the pocket like, oh, okay, I'm just going to throw it to Cook. Oh, okay.
Got burnt a couple times.
Yeah, Xavier Rose. Yeah, Xavier Rose did get burnt a couple times, but Anthony Barr, There's no way. I don't know what type of stuff Pat Shermer is doing, but there's no way that you put a linebacker on a slot receiver. What type of time are you on talking about? My linebacker could cover Cooper Kupp. My linebacker could cover Brandon Cooks. You know, Brandon Cooks run a 4.2, not 4.2 point whatever, right? Come on now, like Pat Shermer, you gotta get it together, man. Like this. This game was awesome overall.
Let's talk about Diggs and Thielen. Now, Thielen's another slot receiver who straight up can ball, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thielen and Diggs. I mean, this is my thing with them. Thielen used to be a slot receiver, but now he is a number one. I mean, he's a number two receiver, but either of them could be a number one or another two. The way the day goes for the Minnesota Vikings, when it comes down to it, Thielen was the number one receiver today. But you just don't ever know. Next week it might be Stephon Diggs. You just don't know with these wide receivers. But my thing is this: they have to find a way to win a game. And I think the offense did what they were supposed to do to put them in position to win. It was just the defense that didn't show up. The defense absolutely did not show up tonight, and I feel bad for Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins did what he was supposed to do. He had no turnovers. He bounced back from the Bills game, and at the same time, I feel like with this whole Kirk Cousins, he's getting his money's worth. At the end of the day, he's getting his money's worth within the last 3 out of the 4 weeks. He had one bad week. But at the end of the day, look, the stats alone is tell you why he was worth all that money. 36 for 50, 422 yards. He averaged 8.4 yards throwing the ball.
Rudolph involved somewhere, though.
I think he should have got Rudolph more involved, but I felt like they felt like he was a threat. That's why I think Thielen and Diggs was open so much because they know how big of a threat that Rudolph is. But in the second half, he was very, very nonchalant. Very nonchalant in that he was like nowhere to be found in that offense in the second half. So it was just, this game was just, it was a good game from the rip. Like, honestly,
a very opening drive to the end. It was not once was not glued to the TV.
And the thing about it is my thing is this. Now, I want to get into the team stats because this is about to be ridiculous. What I'm about to look at right now. Let's just go into the first down ratio. The first down ratio, they both had 25 first downs each. Time of possession was 34-14 to 27-46. Minnesota had. This is why Minnesota should have won the game. You had more time of possession. How you have more time of possession in golf? He outthrows you in yardage, but he throws lesser passes than you. He only threw 33 times. Cousins only threw 50. But at the same time of possession was 31-14, winning in Minnesota's favor. I'm not understanding. That is a stat that people need to look at.
That's when you start pounding the ball.
And I felt he's not even pounding the ball. It's just that 32-14 to 27-46. You should have won the game with that time of possession. And then the Rams have total yards. Total yards was 556 yards from the Rams alone. Total yards. Minnesota had 446.
Rams could have been up a little bit more, but they did miss a kick.
Which is true. So, I just don't like, just looking at the total plays and the total yards. Like, this is just mind-boggling to me that Minnesota has 71 plays and put up 31 points. Rams only had 55 and put up 38. You had 55 plays, and then you had 556 total yards. Like, What you think about that? Like, you tell me what you think about that alone. Like,
The Rams just had better plays. They executed better. Um, they the defense. It was not one person. They threw, Goff threw to everybody literally on that because he spread it out everything. He checked down. He looked who he could throw, and who he found open, he threw it to, and they caught it. They caught everything, just damn near.
mm.
But it's just like it goes back to Minnesota. They didn't utilize Dalvin Cook at all.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to. It boils down to not using Dalvin Cook. There's one way Dalvin Cook has 10 carries.
If I'm Dalvin Cook, I'll be upset this game. Like y'all didn't give me a chance to do anything.
Yeah, I think they went away. I think Minnesota went away from what they know, and that's running the football. Don't get me wrong, the passing game was there. So you just needed to get that running game together. I understand you had Darnold and Sue in that middle, but you still should have ran the ball and wear that defense down and then go over top. That's what you should have did. Me as a coach, I would have been like, listen, if I'm averaging 3 to 4 yards a carry, I'm pounding the freaking football. And now I'm getting more of a manageable third down. Shout out to Daryl. Daryl's definitely in the chat. He's one of my co-workers. He's definitely know his sports. I really appreciate him coming on and actually being on. I'm sore, Daryl, just to let you know. I'm sore as heck from the actual community outreach today. I feel like an old person. So, yeah. But the game was definitely crazy. It was crazy from the first quarter where Vikings score first.
The highlight of the game, even though it didn't work, the punter had an arm. Can you imagine if he would have caught that?
I think the momentum would have been taken away from the Minnesota Vikings if they let the punter throw almost a 60-yard bomb in the end zone for a touchdown.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, he almost caught that. They said that would have been his first touchdown. Like he's done that before, passed the ball before, but that would have been his first touchdown, and it almost was successful.
Right. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with that. You welcome, Daryl. No problem, man. I'm actually looking at him in the chat as we speak. But we got 4 people watching. Thank y'all for joining on our recap here. But yeah, Daryl 400 plus in 3 TDs.
Hit the subscribe button.
Yeah, make sure y'all hit the subscribe button, hit that alert button. Please get these likes up. We need to get these likes up. The more likes we get, the more live videos you get from us from the Spotlight Sports Talk. And just to let y'all know, the recovery lost it. That was a decent throw. Yeah, it was. Actually, it was a decent throw from the punter. It actually was a decent. It was a decent game overall from the first quarter on, and it was like defense could not stop no one. The defense just couldn't stop nobody. Then then Darnold came in and gets a sack, and then you had a rookie beat your offensive lineman, which your offensive lineman is a veteran. You get beat, and then Kirk Cousins don't step up, and then he fumbles. Boo, whipty, who. Ridiculous. Like these numbers I'm looking at is just mind-boggling. Third down efficiency. Vikings was 8 for 16 on third down efficiency. The Rams was only 1 for 6.
Wow. Third down is always the key down. It was half. They were 50%.
Yeah.
You know why the Rams couldn't do nothing on third down? Because they was doing it on first and second down.
Yes. That's a fact. But they went for third down 7 times. They only got it once. That's crazy. Yards per play. 10.1 with the Rams and then 6.3 with the Vikings. 1 fumble loss. I'm still mind-boggled. The time of possession. 32-14 to 27-46. That time of possession tells everything. Minnesota had this game won. And then another thing, it's a minute and some change left. Todd Gurley gets the first down. Why you let the clock run out?
Minnesota, I guess Minnesota gave up. It was like, yeah, we lost. No, you probably still had a shot with all three timeouts left.
They actually had two, but still, like,
I need Zimmer to get his stuff together. Like, why?
You
Trakeman
gotta.
was like, why? Trakeman was like, why Minnesota just letting the clock run out?
I'm not understanding that you had two timeouts. Gurley gets the first, and you don't call timeout automatically after that. Like, that's just stupid. That's common sense. If you want to win this game and get back in this game, plus you was down a touchdown. I understand if you was down 48-12 or something. Understanding that. But you was down a touchdown. It was 38-31 with a minute and some change left. Todd Gurley gets the first, and you just give up and quit? What I would have did was they would have ran the ball to Gurley again. Make sure he gets some yards, but not much. Get him out 2 or 3 yards. Then after that, I'll probably would call the timeout. Then after that, make him run the ball again. Then that's third down. I won't call the timeout on third down because I still had more time on the clock. If I stop them on third down and then do it, then then make the timeout on fourth down, the Vikings would have had a chance to go upfield and actually get a win. Rams #1. Shout out to Annette Mendoza for being in the chat. I appreciate you. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel. It's the Spotlight Sports Talk here. We just chatting about the Rams game and the Vikings Thursday Night Football recap. But I have to say this. Thursday Night Football is better with Fox. I understand people hate Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. But if you look at it, since they've been on, all the games been great.
Even though Romo didn't do a good job, and even though Romo didn't do a bad job last year, I actually like Romo as a commentator.
Well, I mean, I do like Romo as a commentator, but put Romo in that same commentating on Fox. And y'all think that commentator still would be great. I was just tired of Chris Collinsworth.
Because Romo would have broke down exactly what Kirk Cousins was doing.
Well, Troy Aikman was doing the same thing too, though. If you look at it, he was looking at the more of the technicality of what Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff was doing. What they was doing was, at quarterback, they both was reading off the safety, using their shoulders to read off the safety, so they could have that open it down the seam. So, Troy Aikman was doing that. It's just that it turns out that Kirk Cousins ended up losing, and Goff was just the better guy tonight. But I give respect to Kirk Cousins. I just feel like Pat Schumer just... No, that's not Pat Schumer, is it?
What, the defense, or you talking about the head coach from Minnesota?
I'm talking about the head coach from Minnesota. Like, I'm just mad about that 2 timeout situation.
Oh, you talking about Zimmer?
Oh, Zimmer. Pat Schumer's he's the Giants head coach. Just to let y'all know, Daryl is a Giants fan. He's from New York, so I don't blame him for being a Giants fan. He's from New York. Born and raised in New York. But he's a Giants fan, so of course he's not going to like our picks that we actually picked the Saints over the Giants in our weekly picks. But sorry, Daryl, you got to prove us wrong. But my thing is this: what have we learned from this game? What did we learn from this Thursday night game? Like, I really want to know, like, what did you feel like you learned from this game right here? Knowing that you're an Eagles fan, what did you learn from this game? Knowing that y'all got to play Minnesota and y'all got to play L.A.
As a matter of fact, we play Minnesota next week. That's the next game. And but I think we can beat Minnesota. Like I said, you just gotta you can pressure Kirk Cousins easy. You clearly saw that Donald and Sue got through their line. So just imagine what Fletcher Cox and Jordan Hicks and Brandon Graham can do to that line.
Michael Bennett.
Michael Bennett, exactly. Hello Nada. They can get to that line, and the Rams is just that. Look, honestly, we might take an L on that. I ain't even gonna lie. It's just we got too many weapons and we have no secondary. They gonna light us up.
I think our best corner is Darby. I'm not really a big fan of Jalen Mills, but I think Darby could shut down. The question is who he's going to play when he plays on the Rams. Who he's going to go up against as receiver? Is he going to go up against Brandon Cooks? That means
Brandon Cooks don't want to see Malcolm Jenkins again.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You know what happened last time they bet? Bye. He lights out.
Right. I absolutely agree. But what I've learned from this game here is that the Minnesota Vikings are a great football team, offensively.
Right, definitely not knocking that. I think defensively they could be better.
Yeah, defensively they could be better. I think they could go out and free agency. I know there's some defensive players out there that need a team to be on, but right now you need help at that linebacker position. Like Griffin is gone, so you just got Anthony Barr and Kendricks. You need that third linebacker. I mean, you got the rook in there. I forgot his name, the rookie that was in there today, but he needs that help. Like, and then the corners got to play better. They got to play a little bit more physical. They just can't I'm just gonna let you run past me, and I'm gonna just let you throw a touchdown on me. Like, no. Understand that the game is getting soft, but you still have to play football at the end of the day.
And it was like a good game all the way through. Really, there wasn't no flags thrown like that. So, refs let them play.
Wasn't a lot of roughing the passer either.
Nope.
So it was actually a good game to look at. And me personally, what I learned from the St. Louis, I'm so used to saying St. Louis. What I learned from the LA Rams is that they could really be Super Bowl bound just through the 4 weeks. I mean, Golf is playing better than what he played last year. He stood toe to toe with a great passer in Kirk Cousins, and he has a running back, an All-Pro running back, mind you, an All-Pro running back that in the beginning of his career they really questioned him because he was so injury prone with his knee injury coming out of Georgia. Do you know how many Georgia products is coming out of into the NFL right now? Like AJ Green's from Georgia, Todd Gurley's from Georgia. Like, it's just Nick Chubb and Michelle. Like, it's just so many product coming out of Georgia, even on the offensive line. Like, just alone. But that's just college football. But still, you got an All-Pro in Todd Gurley. You got a wide receiving core that got rid of Sammy Watkins, made Robert Woods that third receiver, put Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks out there with two tight ends that can actually move the football. Defensively they are top notch. I know they gave up 31 points tonight because it was a shootout game, but when it mattered and when it mattered the most, they got the win by a sack, by a fumble from the quarterback. So what I've learned.
Sam Shields, he's been in the game for a minute. He's with St. Louis because of Akeem Talib, so he gets the starting job. But he's been in the game for a while, and he's still playing.
Right. And I agree with that as well. Like, Shields did play. He's a former Green Bay Packer, and for him to, I mean, he played okay. He played okay, knowing that Talib was on IR and Marcus Peters wasn't 100% tonight, but the Rams did what they were supposed to do, and they got a defensive turnover that changed the game, just like in the Super Bowl last year. That game was a shootout into a defensive stance made them win that game. It just makes absolute sense to have them to have that happen. But this was an absolute great game on Thursday Night Football. We will be doing more Thursday Night Football recaps. If no matter if they blowouts or not, we still want to do recaps and talk about it and what we learned from this game. It's the Spotlight Sports Talk. Definitely go check out our new upload that we just put up of our Week 4 picks. I end up picking the Vikings. I think all of us picked the Vikings, didn't we?
I picked the Rams.
Oh no, Rams. We all picked the Rams, right? We all picked the Rams, so we all 1-0 right now. until Sunday, until see what happens with
Lord.
that. I'm scared to see what our record's going to look like by Monday, because Tuesday we will be back to do a recap of our show. We're going to do a recap of our Week 4 picks, and then Wednesday we're going to do our Week 5 picks, and it's going to be a great show. So hopefully y'all subscribe to the channel. Please hit the like button and share and comment on our channel here. It is a Spotlight Sports Talk. Vikings versus Rams. Rams win 38-31 over the Minnesota Vikings. And we see y'all in the next video. We see y'all in the next live. And we holla at y'all later.